I've had a GoPro for a few years and I've run into one problem. This bag that it comes with, it's hard case, but everything moves around and it's just kind of a problem. So we're gonna design a 3D print to go through and hold stuff securely and organize it so that it doesn't slide around on us. All right, so let's jump into Onshape. I have a general idea of what I want to do here, but I'm gonna have to draw it up and see exactly what's going in. But this is just gonna be an insert that goes in the GoPro packaging and allows me to organize stuff more easily and pull it out and see everything instead of it bouncing around in the bag when it's in my backpack and stuff. So we're gonna start off here on the top view, going with a just simple rectangle. Based off some really brief ruler measurements, it's 8¼ by about 3¾ that's going to be kind of the base layer that we're starting with. This is not getting extruded or anything like that. This is just kind of going to be the initial layer of what we're going to do. We're going to move those dimensions outside because I want to, in theory, extrude all of this as one piece. But before we do that, we're going to put on some fillets here. And I'm estimating they're about a 1/2 inch fillet. We'll see how that works when we actually go through and print this out. We'll probably print it like just a few layers thick just to make sure it fits. And then we can go in and print the full thing out. But that should be roughly the shape of what we have here. Now what we need to do is figure out where all this stuff's going to go, what sizes everything's going to be, and basically we're going to punch some rectangles in here. Like this is going to be eventually where the camera is going to go. But before we can do that, we need to get dial calipers out and kind of figure out exactly how big this thing is. So that we can really go in there. And I have the media mod on mine. This is a GoPro, I don't even know, I think it's a 10, but it has the media mod on it. And the media mod, with the media mod, it's telling me as far as its thickness, it's 1.16, and its width, if we go all the way to the outsides here, and I'm going to try to include the little cold shoe too, is 3.55. So I'm going to make that 3.6. And then the depth there, again, was 1.16. So I'll make that 1.2. Again, that's just accounting for some of the size variation that we want to have and some distance things. And then we're going to put this in there. Let's say we want that to be 1/8 of an inch away from there. Actually, we're going to have to do that larger because of the fillet. Now, the media mod does come with a microphone that I don't really use all that much, but it has like a little dead cat sock thing for it. And I don't use it much, but I do want to have a place to hold it so I don't lose it because it's a really easy thing to lose. And if it were attached when it's in the case, it doesn't close all the way. It tells me it has a diameter of 1¼ and since it's foam on the outside, I don't really have to plan for anything special with that. I can just make it that 1.25 and then we'll dimension everything here so that they're away. I don't know, let's do 1/4 inch there. We'll do 1/4 inch there. All right, and what that does, it tells us that we can probably increase the size of some of these to 3/8 and 3/8. And I'm just trying to space these out somewhat evenly so it looks somewhat nice. It's not anything I'm super worried about, but I want to get a general idea of where everything's going to go at. The next thing we have is batteries. So they're going to be rectangles that are going to go in somewhere here. We just got to get the sizing on there. So it is about a 1/2 inch thick. It's 0.48 according to my digital caliper here. And then its width is 1.3. So I'm going to make that 1.35. Again, just to add a little variation, a little bit of size there. And then we'll dimension these guys to be 3/8 away. And maybe we'll get that one to be 3/8 as well. Okay, we're going to put a couple more of these in, and I could use rectangular pattern. I just don't care that much right now. It's going to be quicker for me to just set all of these equal to each other. And then just dimension between them 3/8. And I think I have 3 or 4 batteries, but I have 2 GoPros, so one's always, or 2 of them are always in use. So I'll have this just as a backup here because I can't fit 2 cameras in here easily. I guess I could put another one over there, but I want a space for other things. One of the other things we need to do is the battery charger itself. So that's going to be a larger rectangle. It's going to exist somewhere over here. We just need to get the sizing on it, and then we'll figure out what our next steps are. But as far as this thing, it's 1¼ So we'll do 1.3. And then as far as its width there, it's 1.65, so I'm gonna make that 1.7. Again, I'm not trying to make these things super tight. I just want them to be able to function where I need them to be without really any problems. So I'm gonna make that 3/8, and then I'm gonna try doing that to that spot there of 3/8. Okay, that looks decent. We have space down here from some more stuff, and I have two schools of thought of what we could do there. One is we can just put a box in here that allows us to store stuff, but I was thinking this area over here would be much better for that, for like cables and all that. And then we have just random other accessories. Like we have these areas here that we could go in and put for the screws and all of that stuff. They're about 2¼ inch long or so from top to bottom. So if I wanted to, it's going to stick out significantly farther there. So I don't want to do that. What I might want to do here is we're just going to put a hole in there, but that's going to be something we're going to do later because I want to use the hole tool to punch any holes that we might need there. So I'm not going to do that right now. What I do want to do though is I need to get a spot for a finger or so to get in so that I can pull it out if need be. So we're going to dimension from here to there. That's going to be, let's go 3/4, and we'll do the same thing from the other side. Okay, and then that distance there only really needs to be about 1/2 inch. And then what that does is allows us to go in and make a much larger spot for whatever we may have. So that's going to be 3/8. This will be 3/8. And I don't know why I picked 3/8 as the distance for all this stuff. It's just what I did, and that's what I'm going to continue to do. All right, so it looks like it's all well spaced out at this point. We are going to go use the trim tool with the letter M to just get rid of that line there so that we know that's that. Then we finish our sketch and we're going to extrude this entire thing up. I just need to see how tall we actually need to make this to kind of have it fit everything. So if I'm looking at this, I'm going to estimate it needs to be between 3/4 and 1 inch tall. So if we're doing that 3/4, that would, and 1 inch, the midway between that is going to be 7/8. So that's how large I'm going to make that. We got that part there. And then what I'm going to do is we're going to stick some fillets in here. So we'll go to fillet. We're going to round off this bad boy here. And we'll get that spot in there. Those are all going to be filleted, let's say 0.25. Sure. And then I do want to fillet the rest of these as well. The only one I don't need to worry about is a circle. But if I go into fillet and just grab these edges, I'm not going to have it be as large of a fillet as that is because the camera won't fit. But the camera does have rounded edges on it, as do pretty much everything but the batteries. I also find that I generally tend to like when it has fillets on it. I think the end print looks nicer and generally just seems to work out better for me. That may just be what I like and how I see things, but that's kind of be what I want for this one. So that's what I'm going to do here. And we'll get all of that in there like so. We're going to continue going in here and getting those set up. And then I'm going to change that. Instead of that, we're going to just make it like a 1/16. It's going to be a really small little fillet, but the idea is it's going to make that easier to do. And then we will also put a fillet around these edges for where the handhold's going to be. And I'm going to make those a little larger. We're going to go with 1/4, I think, just to have that transition more nicely. And then we're going to fillet the entire top of the whole thing. And we're going to do that at a 1/16, I guess. Sure. And that's really just to help guide everything into place. I think that'll work way better than what it has been or what it might do otherwise. And I was quickly going to add in some holes to hold the screw, but because of the height we're printing this at, it's not going to work. So I wasted some time. I'll speed it up here for you so you don't have to watch, but I got rid of it. And what I decided to do instead is just put another hole inside of the thing. It doesn't really matter what size it is. I just want it to be kind of equidistant from all the sides and have it set there. But it's just another hole to hold stuff, either adapters, pieces of things, whatever can fit in there, I'll put in there and it will be just fine. All right, and we have it into our Orca Slicer here. This is going to be on our Flash Force M5, which is, I love that printer. And they actually are coming out with one that is multicolor now. So you can do 4 colors on one. It's basically the same thing. It's just the colors hang on the outside. I would love to get my hands on one. So keep watching because the more we watch, the more chances I have of getting one. But I'm going to do a honeycomb insert or infill, even though I know it's going to make this a longer print. I don't really care about that right now. I just want to take a look and see. We're going to leave it at 2 wall loops. It doesn't need to be anything that's super strong. But this thing's going to be about a 3-hour print, and it should come out just lovely. So I'm going to go grab the USB stick. We'll throw it into the printer and see what exactly it outputs for us. So I finally printed out, and I have this, which is the exact thing that I printed. It's beautiful. The problem is, dimensionally, this starts to taper here on the edges. So this being an exact fit for the top does not bode well for it being down below. So what I did was I went through and printed another one because this does fit. It's just incredibly tight and very, very, very difficult to get out. So I printed another one. It's essentially the same thing. It's just slightly smaller. And I had to adjust a few other things to make sure the spacing and all that stayed there. But when we got this in, see it slides in no problem. We have our spacing there and everything pops into place just fine. So all of that stuff worked. I should mention on the other one, I had to change the width of these battery holders. They were just a little too tight. So I did all that. But you can see all that stuff fits in no problem. The only problem that we do have is this. And that's because the lens here sticks out and doesn't allow it to sit all the way in. I am able to close it and it does hold it relatively tight, but I didn't want anything resting on that lens when it hits. If it gets knocked around or anything, I don't want the pressure to be on that lens. I want it to be on the body itself. So that led me to a third iteration here. Let me get all of this out. And the third iteration is essentially the same thing. The only difference here is it has a cutout for the camera on both sides. That's because when you place it in, you can put it like this and it goes in, or you can place it the other way and it fits in no problem. Everything else on this is the exact same. It's nothing big deal. They all fit in there. It lays flat. It's nice and tight. And all of the pieces that we would want to have fit in here without any issue whatsoever. So I have all that stuff in there. When I close this up, the only thing that jumps around a little bit are the batteries, and that's just because they're separated off the roof there a little bit. I could probably build a floor on this to make sure they sit up a little higher and stay there, but I'm okay. This allows me to see everything organized, clear as day. I have a little hold here that I can pull this thing out. There's space here to put a USB-C cord, and then little odds and ends could potentially go there. Screws and a couple other clips and stuff could fit there. And we also have all the space up here still. So you can see I have another microphone holder there as well. So this is my final solution. I'm pretty happy with it. There's a couple of things I would want to change here, mainly down here where this handhold is. I think I'd put a little arch underneath that so that you can get your finger underneath of it and pull it up easier. But beyond that, the fitment's really good. Everything lines up nice, and I'm really happy with what I have. Thanks for joining me.